talks aimed at ending the war in Syria are taking place in Geneva. The UN Special Envoy says peace negotiations are officially underway. Staffan de Mistura and his diplomats will shuttle between the rival delegations. But Syria's ambassador to the UN spoke to reporters a short while ago, and he says he still doesn't know who the opposition delegates are.
I wish to point out that we are still in the preparatory stages for indirect negotiations between the delegation of the Syrian Arab Republic and the Syrian opposition delegations. We discussed with Mr. de Mistura the importance of this preparatory stage so that we know who we are going to hold indirect discussions with. Until now, we do not know who the delegations that are supposedly representing the Syrian opposition are.
Well, let's go live now to Simon McGregor Wood, who's following the negotiations in Geneva. Simon, what else was said then, and what tone did Jafari strike a few moments ago?
Not entirely positive, but that is his style, and it was certainly his style when he was last here in the so-called Geneva II peace talks, which didn't last long in February 2014. I think he's playing a game. I think both sides are playing games at the moment. He is clearly saying that as far as he's concerned, rather in contradiction to the UN's Special Envoy, Mr. de Mistura, that he thinks these talks are very much still in the preparatory stage. There he was, as you just heard, talking about, well, not even knowing who's going to make up the opposition delegation that they will be dealing with in these proximity talks. And that is all about the Syrian government's objections to a number of the people who have come to Geneva, including leaders of groups that they would consider simply to be terrorists. They're very concerned that they don't want to get into a process with people like that. That's their point of view. So I think that we have perhaps only one person involved in this process who thinks that they're really up and running, and that would be the UN Special Envoy, Mr. de Mistura. Now, the choreography of today suggests that at some point later Tuesday we'll get the second visit by the opposition delegation coming to the UN to have their session with Mr. de Mistura, but we've just heard from them that so incensed are they with the continuing Russian aerial bombardment of opposition positions on the ground that they're coming to do an impromptu press conference about their concerns about that just outside the UN, presumably as they come into the building. So it looks like another day of sort of competing press conferences and not a lot of goodwill. Clearly, behind the scenes stuff is going on, but in terms of the rhetoric, it doesn't sound particularly positive at the moment.
OK, Simon, thank you very much. Simon McGregor Wood.